exists a small community of YouTubers that documents factory errors for Thomas, only doing them for the views. I would never do that. This dude's a pathological liar. You're not even getting the views. Get wrecked, lol. I don't think that my ego can handle that. Let's go find some factory errors. I found some inspirational music to cover up the fact that I don't actually know what I'm doing, but also hide the fact that I'm actually stealing a lot of pictures from the internet, aka YouTubers. I found some factory errors. You guys weren't. In the early 90s, misaligned graphics seemed to be a common mistake. They also tilted the smokestacks. Wacky eyes were also pretty common. It seems like James here had a bit too much substance. Don't do drugs. And there was Bill and Ben from the early years. Normally Bill looks to the right, Ben looks to the left. I may or may not have swapped the stickers. Don't ask me why. It was just to prove a point. It took me a long time to realize this was a factory error. Same with this tugboat. And yes, the graphics are reversed, and the same goes with this Ben, but with the funnels. Sometimes they forgot to print graphics like this Henry and the cargo ship. Then I found a very cool factory error where they stamped the troublesome truck face on both sides. According to the man himself, he says that there were also reverse trucks. I've never seen one or seen any pictures, so I don't even know if that was true or not. And wrong faces seem to be a common occurrence. This Henry, James, is pretty cool because it has painted eyes. Bulgy with a daisy face. Would you believe me if I said this is not a factory error? What? Oh my god, not again. Look, Boji was first introduced in 2003, and according to the factory owners, they said they purposely used Daisy's face to see what the Boji looked like. If that was intentional, does that make it a factory error or a concept model? Technically, it's still a factory error. Daisy, you shouldn't be here. This was a weird sequence of events, and it got me wondering, are there any more like this? Gator, Red Thomas, Red Mavis, Oliver, Rusty, Scruffy. These were all factory samples. Wrong paint, wrong body, wrong face, list goes on. I also got a request on what this Thomas was. That was a very good question. The problem is, I have no idea what it is. It looks like the roof looks partially painted, and there is a chance this could be a speckled Thomas. The least I could do was to enhance the photo. So I messaged my friend who works with Diffusion Model, and he sent me this link. I don't know how to code. But I followed the instructions and thought about the disappointed look Skull Race X would have if I didn't do this. Prototypes Rusty, Oliver, Scruffy borrowed other characters' face. Yeah, I know, Boko looks creepy with the tooth. I have a video on Rusty and Scruffy if you want to know how to differentiate prototypes. Actually, don't go check it out. It's a bad video. This is Annie. Is your name also Annie, little girl? I don't think she can hear me. The great Mark Twain once said, history never repeats itself, but it does often rhyme. And what rhymes, you may ask? The face. So I gathered up all the photos from the internet, also the trains that I have. I honestly don't care what face they chucked in the engines, but the fact that it looks sick. In a good way, but seriously though, if you have a Billy face and a Thomas body, do you have a brain of a Billy or a Thomas? Then I found Smudger. How are you gonna act so tough if your name is Smudger? Here are all the face errors that I found. It reminded me of the test you get as a kid. Instead of saying the colors, you read the letters instead. I always fail the test. Fun fact, Dodge and Splatter has a 25% chance of having the wrong face, and this is Lady with a green chimney. They forgot to paint it gold. After few hours of roaming the internet, I found reverse graphics was also a common occurrence. They kept on reversing Soda Mail Coach and Scruffy. This might look like a normal Scruffy, but it is also reversed. There are harder ones to tell, like this Connor. This is Frux. Reverse graphics seem to be happening a lot on rolling stocks. Maybe they weren't too important. I also forgot to mention Terrence. Terrence only has magnets on the back, but the one I have seems to have magnets on both sides. This one in the front. In 1999, Thomas started labeling names on chassis, and that only leads to one thing. More factory errors. Chassis errors were the most common error that occurred in Wooden Railway. Annie and Clarabelle, Max and Monty, Donald and Douglas Tender, those are understandable. But that wasn't it. Sometimes they double named the trains, sometimes they misspelled things, Sometimes they forgot to print the name, and sometimes they flipped it around and pretend nothing happened, just like how I run away from my problems.
Yeah, I'll do it later.
Time to time, they forgot to stamp graphics. They often misspelled the trains or even the box. As they got into theft-proof box, wrong boxes were very common. As a matter of fact, all of the concept models from China have wrong labels, and scratch that, this Toby, was an error from 1993. I don't know how this happened, but sometimes they got wrong colors for the items. Like seriously, this breakdown train, it's pretty cool. And yes, Stepney is supposed to have a white roof. Error wheels are fascinating. For example, this Billy. Okay, this might not look like a factory error, but comparing it with the Thomas, you can see it's a bit redder. A lot of rolling stock stole Rheneas' wheel and chucked them into themselves, and that's why Rheneas had to do the same thing. An eye for an eye, and steal other engine's wheel to have his wheel. Gold Wheel Fuel Tanker is one of the coolest factory errors I've ever seen, and I don't think you're supposed to have 6 wheels for the tanker, but here it is. Doug was a hard one to differentiate. Long story short, it's supposed to have 6 wheels. I think Fuel Tanker might have tricked Doug into trading his wheels. Thomas came in all variations. So a brief lesson on categorization of factory errors. Face, wheels, misprints, reverse graphics, reverse components, missing graphics, missing chassis, wrong box, wrong face, Rheneas. Okay, so this might be out of the blue, but I think Rheneas deserves his own category. We basically seen him too many times. I don't think I'm the only one thinking that. As a matter of fact, I'm only saying this because I saw these tweets. Going deeper in, I found some more factory errors that got me thinking, did they do this on purpose? Iron Rheneas comes to breakfast. James Arthur Rheneas? That's right, another Rheneas.
Oh no, oh dear, he's frustrated. Yo guys, F in the chats for Rheneas. Yeah, just go ahead and spam that, Let's give him some love.
Diving into the deepest layer of factory errors, I found these metallic funnel Thomas, metallic face Thomas, metallic funnel Percy, and I know what you're gonna say. They're probably factory samples, and you know what? You're right, they are. But was messing up Percy's face intentional? That we'll never know. Factory errors are not bad at all. It's fun. It brings us joy, and I hope they continue to make more mistakes. But as Mark Twain once said, those who do not learn history are doomed to repeat it.
I should have actually focused during my history class.